Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Friday. So the day I did this study, I had a conversation with a guy named David, who is a Reform Jew. And he was helping me understand that a Reform Jew believes that God's revelation is progressive, that God is still teaching us new things about who he is. The idea that I caught was even that it could be different than what we learned in Scripture. And there's versions of that in Christianity too. But as we were talking, he said, for instance, now we believe that women can be rabbis. Now we are more inclusive with the LGBTQ community, and asked, how we thought about that with our versions of progressive revelation. And I said, well, from our perspective, Jesus was God in flesh, and he said, I did not come to abolish the law of the prophets, but to fulfill them. And so that we are not to abolish the law of the prophets, but we are to interpret them and see them through the lens of Christ. And then Jesus' teachings, the teachings of God in flesh, were preserved by his disciples in the New Testament. And so that we're not going to receive new teachings that are contrary to the teachings of God, because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so we don't judge people or hate on people, but we don't condone sin. And he said, so love the sinner and hate the sin. And I said, yeah, I guess so. Except that for me, that usually has meant some kind of arbitrary set of moral behavioral standards that we're just trying to do good, trying to do better and not do bad, instead of seeing it as the instruction of Adonai, of Yahweh. And the one who created life knows how life works best. And so we hate sin not because we have to hate the bad things for some kind of moralistic reason, but because it actually brings death and suffering and pain. It's a sub-life. It's not a whole life. It's not shalom. We hate things that rob humanity out from the shalom that God created us for. They carry that into this reading, this meditation on Romans chapter 1 was kind of hard for me. My heart cries out, mourning for the world. Woe to the world that walks in darkness, that's been handed over to our sinful desires. And my heart is, man, we're all born in this darkness, and we've been raised in this darkness, and it's almost, how could we not produce darkness in a world of darkness? But Romans here says that there's no excuse for humanity, it seems, because what can be known about God, the important things, his divine nature, is seen in creation. And so as much as I mourn for people raised in a dark world, myself raised in a dark world, producing darkness, that I can't escape also the truth of individual responsibility, because maybe I was mistreated in my childhood. That doesn't mean I'm not responsible for my own actions of sobriety or love, compassion. It just leads me back to mourn for myself and mourn for the world, and fall back to being poor in spirit. Yeah. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted.